Hey guys, this might be a little bit of a rant, and I apologize for that, but this is something that's been on my mind for a while now, so we're gonna get into it. So let me just state outright, your mentor, whoever that is not infallible. It's just simple. Like everybody, everybody in this world, everybody in this business is wrong about something, right? And everybody is wrong about something that they would bet a lot of money that they're not wrong about. Like that's just human nature, right? So, and obviously if I were to ask you, whoever your mentor or mentors are, if I were to ask you, do you think they're infallible? Do you think they're incapable of error? You would probably go, no, of course not. Like nobody is infallible. Nobody's incapable of error. But the thing is what we end up doing a lot of times is we end up sort of suspending our doubt, suspending our better judgment, if you will. Like we don't question certain things. And I think there's a reason behind that, or a couple reasons behind that. Number one, as human beings, we just crave clarity. We want definite answers. We don't like it depends as an answer. We don't like maybe, I don't know, right? We want to know X, Y, Z. This is what we do when we do it. We want certainty. And if somebody comes along and they go, hey, I'm going to tell you the exact thing you need to know, I'm going to tell you the secret you need, I'm going to tell you the exact steps you need to solve this problem, that makes you feel really good and that makes you feel safe and that makes you feel secure. Add to that that this is an industry that is just chock full of imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is everywhere, right? But we as dog trainers, we don't have like a curriculum of study that says now you are a dog trainer. If you are a medical doctor, you went to medical school, you passed state, you passed your tests at college, at your medical school, you passed your medical boards, you did your residency, your internship, like you have had a lot of people say, yeah, you know what the hell you're talking about. And I've spoken with medical doctors, like, I still feel like I'm just making up. I still feel like an imposter. So imagine for us dog trainers, how much harder it is when we don't have that extensive schooling, we don't have that extensive testing, we don't have that extensive push to get better and to submit our work to the review of those who came before us. Like we're just out here, and most of us are largely self-taught. Like maybe we went to a school and that started us on a career. Maybe we read a lot of books. Maybe we had the opportunity to work with some really great trainers. But at the end of the day in and day out, what we're doing is we're looking at dogs in front of us and going, how do I solve that problem? And there is this sense for most of us that we're just kind of making it up. And it took me a long time to get over this. It was years into my career before I started going, no, I actually kind of know what I'm doing. Um, because so much of what it was just stuff that I made up. I went, I have a problem. How do I solve it? And I came up with a solution, and that's it. So that's a real big part of it, right? And then if you're struggling with that, if you're like, and you will see people, I will see people, they'll chase mentors. I'm going to follow this guy for a while, then I follow this guy for a while, and then this guy or this girl, whatever. Like they have this, they go through this cycle, and then they finally find somebody who will say, because most people, most coaches in this industry, most people are going to help you out. Most people are going to take that mentorship role, accept it from you. They're going to be saying, hey, go learn from this guy, go learn from this person, go study this. You should read this book. Don't take my word for it. This is like this. They're going to encourage outside study, right? But every once in a while, you'll find somebody who's like, no, just me. You don't need anything else but what I give you. You're wasting your time going elsewhere, right? And that's a big red flag for me. But why are we so quick to accept that? And I think it gives us that certainty. I think it gives us that sense that we finally now are not just making stuff up. We have somebody we can point to who we respect and we admire. Go, no, I'm not doing my thing. I'm doing that person's thing. That person told me how to do this. So if there's a problem with it, if there's a problem with it, you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with that person, and that's not hard to do. In other words, that is not an uncommon thing to do. And even I do it, right? I will go. I'll quote Dr. Sapolsky, or I'll quote one of my mentors. I might say, oh, Mark Goldberg says this, or Dick Russell used to say this, or whatever. And is that an effort to add credibility to my own words because I don't think they're strong enough? Maybe. But it's also saying, hey, I'm not alone in this. There's others who agree with me, and I didn't come up with this idea. I'm just advancing it forward. And it takes a little bit of responsibility away, and yes, also it is a little bit of a appeal to authority. Like, don't take my word for it. This person who you also respect also said that, right? So that's a very easy thing to do. But I think uh, what we really want to be careful about is taking that too far, right? So like, I'll give you an example. And by the way, I am not thinking of any single person right now. Um, this has been on my mind for a long time. And if you go back to listen to the Old Dog Training Conversations podcast, I've made plenty of references to trainers who don't want students but they want disciples. And I think there's a definite trend for a lot of people. A lot of people want to have mentors who are more like gurus or more like, almost, uh, infallible, right? I think people want that. They want that God guru, and because again, that takes away the doubt, that takes away the questions, that takes away the uncertainty, and I think they people latch onto that. It feels really good to believe in that person, right? So I think there is something to be said for that, but it's not true. Like, certainty doesn't exist in this world, right? There's nothing that you know for certain, or very few things that you know for certain, at least. Like when it comes to dealing with complex beings like dogs, and their own interior lives and their own motivations, and a history of experiences that they can never tell us about. Like, we're gonna have some things wrong. You can't have a one size fits all. You can't have a this is always a solution mindset. Certainty doesn't exist in that world. It is always a conversation. It's always a give and take. It's always creative. At least it should be. So anyway, I think one of the reasons why we get into this is that it feels real good to have that certainty. Feels real good to have that thing. So the example I want to give you, um, there is a quote that now I cut my teeth on the Keeler method of dog training. The very first dog training book I ever owned was the Keeler method of dog training, right? And that book was my Bible for a couple of years. Like, I read it cover to cover probably once a year at least, and pieces of it I would read from here. Would read when I was struggling with something. I go back and reread a section on this or reread a section on that. Like I really, really dug into that book really deep, and it was a lot. And Bill Keeler was a guru to me. Like, I never met the man, but he was like, if Bill said it, it was true. And that was just the way I felt about it. He was, and I needed that. I needed that at that time because I didn't have any space for doubt. I had to be. I was going to people's houses and saying, "Hey, I can fix your dog," and I had very little experience, and probably shouldn't have been doing it at that time. I wasn't experienced enough. I wasn't knowledgeable enough. But by God, I had Bill Keeler at my back. I had his words, I had his method, I had his techniques, and of course, I grossly misunderstood the method, which is what's going to happen anytime you try and just go straight from that book and try and apply it. Anyway, that's just how it happens. But there's a quote from Bill Keeler that is often cited, and I'm going to paraphrase this or butcher it, but it's something to the effect of that the most important criterion for determining the effectiveness of a dog training system is the speed at which it provides off-leash control. And that is often presented as the final word. What I don't hear people say is why. Why is speed the most important criterion? Why? I mean, certainly speed is important. Certainly, we live in a real world where things have to get done in a certain time frame. But why? Why is that the most important criterion? Like, what if my criterion? What if I say, well, you know what? I can manage this problem for a little while longer. I like, and this isn't to dig on the Keeler method. Let me be very clear about this. I'm not taking a little side swipe at the Keeler method. There's a lot of value. I got a lot of good stuff from the Keeler method, and so that's not where this is coming from. But the the Keeler method's primary goal was speed, right? That's what the quote says. What Bill Keeler wanted the fastest route to off-leash control as he could get. That's his most important criteria. But why is that mine? Do I have to agree with that? Can I go, man, I hear you, but I don't think I agree with that. Like, and it never occurred to me to question it until it was probably about a year ago. I went, why do I keep thinking that way? Like, if it would take me another week to solve a problem or teach a behavior, or another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks to solve a problem or teach a behavior, but I end up with a happier dog. I end up with a more enthusiastic response. I end up with a training method that I just feel better about, that is more comfortable to me and more comfortable to the dog. Isn't that important? Right? And the point I'm getting at is not that Bill Keeler was wrong, because you may agree with him and you may disagree with him. And that's not the point. Like, don't fill up the comments with, oh, I tell you why Bill Keeler is right. Like, that's not the point of this. The point is that I can disagree with that. And even though I have a great deal of respect for Bill Keeler, and even though he is the reason I'm here in a lot of ways, like I wouldn't have made it through my first 10 years of training without that book. Promise you, I wouldn't have been good enough. Like that book filled up the hole in my inability, uh, and that was valuable. So I'm not trying to bash the method or the man. Like, but the thing is, I don't have to agree with it because Bill Keeler, as a mentor, as an author, as a dog trainer, it's not infallible. No one is. Like that's not a slight on Bill Keeler. Like I think if I could go back in time and said, "Hey, Mr. Keeler, do you think you know everything about dogs?" He'd say, "Of course not. I think." You think there's no one else to learn from? I don't think he'd say, "Yeah, cool. No, I'm the only guy." I think he'd say, "Yeah, go." He probably have a list of people. I think. I don't know, but the picture I painted of the man in my head, who was always striving to make his method better, he was probably going to be a guy who was going to be open to new ideas and whatever. But that's speculation. But the point is like it took me. Listen, next month I'm going to celebrate my 29th year as a professional dog trainer. 29 years. And it was, like I said, just like a year or two ago that I went, is that actually the most important criterion? Is that really the measure that I think is most important? I just accepted it because well, that's what Bill said, right? And so one of the things I'm thinking is what I would encourage everybody to do is when if you have a mentor who you respect and you admire, I mean, cultivate that relationship, love that person, get it, like get as much information from that mentor as you can. But when they say something and you go, or let me rephrase that. When there's a statement like that, like the single most important criterion is speed, and no one questions it. You never hear a discussion about why that's the single most important criterion. Or you say something, you go, that doesn't feel right to me. That seems off. Stop for a moment and think, how would you respond to this if it was just some random person on the internet who said it? Would you question it? Would you push back a little? Would you say, I'm not sure I understand that. Can you clarify that? Would you go, well, that sounds ridiculous. What do you mean? Like when you hear something from a mentor, from somebody you respect and admire, the tendency is to accept it and go, oh, okay, give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe we shouldn't give them so much benefit of the doubt, right? So I have a big problem with trainers and mentors who are looking to create disciples. My belief is that our job, the way that we honor our teachers best, is to improve upon what they gave us. And you cannot innovate on something you think is perfect. You cannot improve a system or an approach that you think has already been completed, right? So I think it's really super important that we move forward through our training, through our various coaches and influences and people that help us improve. And we do it in a way that honors them in a very real way, which is to internalize what they give us, make it our own, and then do something amazing with it. Like, so just challenge, challenge the ideas, push back, make them defend the idea. Don't just accept it. Look for the contradictions. Your mentor is not infallible. You are not infallible. None of us are. We're all just trying to get through this the best way we can. We're all just trying to do the best job we can with the tools we have. You need to get more tools. Don't let anybody tell you that you only need the tools in this toolbox. Because I guarantee you there are some amazing tools out there that you could use that you don't know about. All right. So less ranty than I thought it was going to be, but this is from the heart. So take it as you will. It's very important to me. I hope you agree. And that's it, guys. I don't want to start a fight. I'm not here to do that. Just, man, just get better and don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough and that you are wrong for questioning. Anybody who acts like your disagreement is a character flaw, that's something that's a psychology you should be aware of. Like, because that's not a healthy relationship. I don't care how good they are, I don't care how great a mentor they are, I don't care how knowledgeable they are. If they make you feel like you are somehow uh, less good, less valuable, less you have some sort of character flaw because you chose to disagree with them, because you dared to not come to the same conclusion as you are, man, that is a toxic mentality. I don't care who it is. I don't care how good they are. That's toxicity. And, that doesn't mean you can't still learn from them. Learn from them, but know who they are, know what they're about. And that's your first clue that your mentor is indeed fallible. All right. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.